So, good evening. Hello, everybody, and welcome to Posipix Live. I'm going to be giving some feedback and coaching on some images from our September competition themed Sunrise and Sunset before announcing winners of the three £50 runners-up and one £500 winning prize of both the student and experienced category. Now, I'm hoping everything is working perfectly. Yep. So, let's just make sure that's all good. Yes, I think it is. Crofting Lassie says you've got no sound. Has anyone else got sound? You should have sound. I've got sound. Hopefully that is all good. Forgive me, we've got horrible latency tonight. For some reason, YouTube is not allowing me to use the super low latency, which means you can comment. It means there's a big old lag, which is a bit of a shame. I think everyone else has got sound. I haven't got any other complaints. So, let's move on. Posipix competitions are a collaboration between clickersnap.com and me, Mike Browne, and my photography courses. When you enter a Posipix competition, you are helping us support the Legacy of War Foundation, which helps people rebuild their lives following the trauma of war. If you buy a sticker using the dollar button in the chat window, any funds raised through that during this live broadcast will of course go directly to them. Unfortunately, we can't add a direct fundraiser during this live broadcast because YouTube doesn't recognise a UK registered charity. You will find links below in the description area to all of this good stuff I have just been talking about. Now, in a minute, I'll be giving the feedback and coaching for both student and experience level categories before announcing the CAS prize winners in about an hour's time. Now, I've got a couple of announcements, so please listen up. I know it's great saying hello to each other and all the rest of it, but listen up, guys. We've got a couple of announcements here. Obviously, we're looking for ways to increase the prize pot for you, as well as our support for the Legacy of War Foundation. Now, to do that, we need to expand our reach, the reach of Posipix, to more photographers. So we're making a little bit of a change here. This time, when you enter an image in the next competition, which will be going live on Monday, when you enter an image, please don't just sit back and forget about it. Share it with all your photographer friends. Share links on your social media, etc. and ask them to give you, and any other images they like, a vote. Now, to prevent this merely becoming a popularity contest, I, and hopefully another guest judge who is a specialist in that theme, we will be choosing our winners from the top 100 as well as having a scan through the others. But it's really important. We want you to spread the word. So please, I need your help. Please spread the word. And remember, this time there is a voting element to the judging. The second thing I just need to mention is really rather sad. It really sickens me to have to tell you that somebody entered a stolen image into a Posipix competition and won a prize with it. I really hate that. Sorry, whoever you are, if you're here, I think you're a scum-sucking piece of shit. That's all I can say, because you are robbing from hard-working photographers who have put in a load of effort, as well as detracting from the purpose of this. You're kind of taking from the very people who are suffering from war situations, and I don't like that. Unfortunately, we are from now on going to be asking winners for absolute proof of their entry to prove that it's theirs in the form of a high-resolution image file with the EXIF data intact and at least one link to a social profile. We'll also use other methods to verify that information, which is a shame because it's a load more hassle and work for everybody. I'm sorry it happened. Also, of course, anyone discovered entering stolen images that will be immediately disqualified, but we'll also inform the legitimate owner of their identity, the information they gave us when they entered, so that that person can take legal action against them. And I do know, and I'm on very good friendly terms with the boss of an international copyright firm of solicitors. It's just not on. Anyway, I don't want to dwell on unpleasant things like that, because we've got some stunningly beautiful pictures going on in this competition. I know sunrise and sunset, very, very popular theme, as we can see by the number of incredible entries. There's some really beautiful stuff. I also just want to say we've got the two categories. We've got a student level. That is where you feel you're kind of learning, you're not quite sure, and then the more experienced level where you kind of know what you're doing. You know, you've done it a while, you understand your way around the camera, light, composition, all the rest of it. You find other photographers probably coming to you for a little bit of advice and support. Now, be honest with yourselves, guys, because I'm beginning to see some really great images in the student level category. Be honest with yourselves, you know. Come on, we're letting you do this. It's up to you to keep your authenticity here. Anyway, without further ado, let me sort out my screens and let's have a look at some images. Do a little bit of critique and feedback. Now, one of the really difficult things for me in judging a competition is choosing those winners, because, you know, when you go through it and you go, oh wow, that's such a good picture, or have I done it right, and all that stuff creeps in. But nonetheless, I've gone through, I've voted, and the algorithm has said, right, these are the ones you gave the highest score. So let's just have a look. You know, when we just scroll through, look, we're in the student level here. So let's just have a little scroll through. Let's just have a little look. I mean, straight away, look at these images. There is some really beautiful stuff going on here. So I just want to give a little bit of feedback, why some of them work really well, how one or two can be improved, and maybe just a little bit of coaching for the photographer. Thank you, everyone who is supporting this competition. And of course, Legacy of War. So where do we begin? I just love this. And one of the things that I love about this from Mikey is it's not obvious. You know, we see so many sunrises and sunsets, and there's glorious colors, and I get it, they're beautiful things, but it's just finding a way not to be too obvious with your images. I think it's a great picture. We get the feel that the sun has just risen. We've got that misty feeling in a forest, the light coming through the trees. It's a different way of thinking about it, a different interpretation, and I think it's a great way of doing it. Now, just look at the bottom here. Look, social sharing. These are the things that you can use to share your images to your different social media things, and invite all your photographer friends to come vote on all the images that they like, as well as your own. Let's just move back and have a look. Here we go. At some more of these. Oh, it's gone into all categories. That's annoying. Forgive me. I did something wrong there, didn't I? Let's just have a little look through. Now look, Caitlin Macaulay, you've got a very beautiful, colourful image going on here. And yes, of course, it is screaming sunrise or sunset. My coaching to you would be that it is screaming a little bit too loud. It's a beautiful, you know, colours and all the rest of it, but it looks like it's been pimped up a bit. Sometimes being a little bit more subtle can work a little better. I kind of like the light coming through the trees. I think maybe a little backing off with your composition. Do we need quite so much of the greenery at the bottom? I'm not entirely sure. Maybe a little hint of it could work just a bit better. Let's do the hand test. Those of you who've been here before will know. Let's just kind of put your hand up. Just take maybe 50% of that off the bottom. I don't know what you think. I just think it just helps it. It's too big a lump down the bottom there. But most of all, just back off a little bit in that pimping of the colours, because it doesn't always work quite so well. But nonetheless, good work. Nice image. Now I've got to try and figure out how to get back without having to rejig the whole category again. For some reason it doesn't want me to, which is very annoying. I've got to keep going back in here. Sorry about this, guys. Something has changed in the way it's working, and I don't quite know what it is. God, this is a lovely picture. I do think it is absolutely superb. Look how gentle that is. Look at the subject is small and it has got all that space going on around it. The power poles, a lot of people go, I don't like power poles, but you know what? They are a feature. They are a part of the world in which we live. And don't be afraid to leave them in there. You know, when they add something, when they're part of something, don't try and hide them, because it doesn't work. They look as though they're trying to be hidden. Look at that mistiness. But what I love most of all is the way God has kind of given it space. You've made this a very cold. We can see it's cold from the snow, but you've also given it space. And that is making it really quiet. These are some wonderful tools in your arsenal of photography. Composition is a lot about where you stand. You know, move back a bit, shorten that focal length. Focal length and composition, they are bestest friends. Use it to your advantage. Use where you stand. Don't be afraid to use a little bit of space in a picture. And look how we're not looking straight at the sunrise, but the sunrise is behind the trees. It's a much more subtle approach than just kind of going, look, big colourful sky, sunrise. I'm trying to think of a way we can try and get back to the gallery without, it's, you know, I can't even scroll backwards and forwards. Something is going on here. Apologies, there is no way around it. I'm just going to have to keep doing this. I have to keep flicking in and out of the different galleries. We've got so many great pictures. Now, I think this was a great idea, Mark. I like the way you've done something that isn't obvious, and it always helps. It always makes a difference. Look, we've got this little bit of sunrise going on across the bottom. I like the way you've thought about this and put this reflection into the bottom of the building. Now, unfortunately, there's just a little bit too much going on around here. Great idea, very difficult thing to pull off, because it's about finding just the right spot, just the right place to be able to pull it off. Look, we've got that white car. We've kind of got tail lights of a car going on here. It's all just a bit messy, and it's interfering with the place where the sunset or sunrise, this looks like a sunset, is. But good effort. If you can find a building without the clutter that lines up and you can do it, good on you. It's always worth it. Sticking with our student level, you see what I mean about some of these images? They are absolutely stunning. Isma Ali. I know this shot. I have been to this place and tried to take this shot many times, and it is not an easy photograph to take. Thank you for entering it. It was very brave. Sunrise over Angkor Wat reflected into the pools. It is not an easy shot to take, because very often you go there and it doesn't quite deliver. Usually it has to be a silhouette or shot just before the sun comes over the horizon, because as you can see now, the sun has come into the sky, and the difference is so far beyond the camera's ability to capture it, to hold it. The dynamic range isn't quite wide enough to do it. But when the sun is just below the horizon, and if you get cloud and colour in the sky, then the two will balance out more. You can get a little bit of detail in the front of the temple at Angkor Wat, as well as get the reflection in the water. The reflection is always difficult because there's always bugs and insects buzzing around on there. It's also a difficult shot to take because I've gone down there 2 hours before sunrise, and there's already been a great thick crowd of photographers all the way around the edge, and the best positions have gone. Esme, you're here. Great to see you. Thank you for entering, and I hope what I've just suggested helps. It is a tough shot to get right. When you do, it's absolutely great. Thank you so much for entering, supporting Posipix as well as the Legacy of War Foundation. Let's have a scroll down and have a look. I prepared all these for you so I wouldn't have to do this, but I don't know why it won't let me go back. But hey ho, it is what it is, and I really like what you've done here as well. Using... Good idea, Joseph. Control click and see if we can open it in a new thing, and I can just keep closing them. Let's hope I don't get lost in how many tabs I've got. What was I saying? Anne, yes. I love the way you've used the same colour and repeated it throughout your image. And we're not just looking straight at a sunset. We've got a sense of place. We've got a sense of where we are. I don't know this place, but I love it. It just looks amazing. And the way the colours are working together between the sunset and the streetlights, I think it's a very clever thing to do and a beautiful composition. Now, you know where you are in your photographic journey, but I would suggest you are more accomplished as a photographer than you think. Have confidence in your ability, have confidence in your pictures, because I'd say you're more than just a beginner, just a student, just someone who's trying to figure it out, because you've got a beautiful picture here. Congratulations. Okay, let's go back to our list. Let's get our student images and see if we can click them into a new window. Let's just keep it going down here because there's several I wanted to just look at and have a little talk about. Also, I love the fact that so many of you are entering into these things. David Whitfield. I get where you're going with this, my friend, but it's just a little bit busy. Yes, you've got a picture with a sunrise or a sunset going on in it, and I like your idea about, you know, this design and the lines and the shapes. Unfortunately, I think they're fighting with each other. There's just a little tiny bit too much going on all in one place. Simplicity often works best because the viewer isn't trying to figure it out. The viewer isn't kind of thinking, what is this about? What's going on here? Nonetheless, thank you. It's a great attempt at entering. What could you do with this? I don't really know. Is there a way you can get into a position that you can just put the sculpture against the sunset? The problem is, yes, we do look at the brightest area of the picture, and that is the bridge here. I'm not sure where we are in the world. I like the cyclist, but he kind of lost because there's too much going on in one place. Try and keep it simple. I think it will help you. Great plan, by the way, to open it in a new browser window. Thank you, Joseph. I hadn't thought of that one. Akos Toth. Forgive me if my pronunciation is appalling of your name. This is a beautiful picture of some sunflowers. I also totally get it that there is a sun. This feels like a sunrise to me. This feels like a morning picture. I could be wrong. My thing here is that it is a very difficult thing to pull off when you've got so much brightness going on in the background. That sky is very bright. It is very powerful. I think if you would, if you're shooting a JPEG, you're doing it, letting the camera deal with it. Maybe if you reduce that exposure a bit, you've still got a bit of light coming through the flowers, whether it would be enough to kill it. Now, I don't mind a burnt highlight at all. I am certainly not the burnt highlight police here. But it's a shame because it's just slightly detracting from the sunflowers. We're not quite getting the feeling of sunrise. We've got a beautiful picture of some sunflowers. I hope that helped. And again, thank you so much for entering. And we got another great sunflower shot going on here from Sasha. I like this picture a lot, but for me there is just something missing slightly. And that is, I'm not getting that sunrise sunset sort of a feeling. It's a nice picture. I like the light on it. Now, maybe you know it was a sunrise or a sunset because you were there. Maybe you've got that bit of a highlight on the flower and you've lined yourself up against a shadow. Good thinking. Great way to work. But it's not giving that sunset sunrise thing. Never forget the purpose of your picture. Why are you shooting an image? What's it for? What are you going to do with it? Where are you going with it? But again, thank you for entering and thank you for being here. What else have we got going on? Let's just have a look through a few more before we move on to the next category because there are so many. George, I remember looking at this one of yours when we started. Sorry, I've got something going on my other screen. That's very unprofessional of me. Let me just get rid of it so it's no longer getting in the way. George. Okay, the crystal ball thing. We see it quite a lot. What works with the crystal ball is really when almost the entire image is in the crystal ball, or we have some sort of connection. Great attempt, but I think you need to be closer to the crystal ball, and also maybe sort of line yourself up so that the sun is behind it. I'm not sure what we're looking at now. I think your thinking is we've got a reflection going on here in whatever that's standing on. But somehow it's just, again, a little bit too busy. These scraggly trees over on the right, they're kind of making it just a little bit too much. Possibly taking a little bit off either side. Let's do our crop thing. You know how to do it. Those of you who've been here before, let's just kind of take that down a bit and see. Now look, if we lose the trees on the right, and if we just have the crystal ball and the sunset and the reflection, we're starting to get a little bit better. But again, watch that exposure. I would say you could have come down just a little bit and made that sky just a little bit darker, saturated those colours just a bit, and it probably would have helped. What do you think, guys? If we lose a little bit and just kind of take it in a little bit closer around the ball, so we're losing the trees on the right. What do you think? Does it help? Hey, George, it's a barbecue. Nice one. I like the way you noticed that reflection and used it. Maybe come a little bit closer on this occasion. We've got some very interesting colours going on here, Yvonne. And I looked at this for quite a long time. Is this the green flash of sunset? If you haven't heard of the green flash of sunset, then Google it, have a look. I don't know. To me, it just doesn't look quite right, having quite so much green going on in these clouds. Interesting shapes, interesting clouds. I think, again, it looks like the colours have been pushed a little bit, to me, in post-production. I could be wrong. I've certainly shot sunrises and sunsets, particularly in the tropics, and actually toned the colours down because I think it's just too much. The camera has exaggerated them a bit, but anyway, it was just so colourful. But nonetheless, well spotted. It is a very, very interesting sky. I just feel a little uncomfortable with the colours. Also, I'd like to see more of these people. Look, if we come in close down here, whoop, I'll get it right in a minute. Look, you see, look at all these people looking at this. I presume they're people. Are they people or are they trees? I'm not sure. I think they're people standing on a hillside. I'm not sure. They might be the tops of trees or rocks. Again, maybe if you could find a way to let us know more of what's going on, lose a bit of the ambiguity. These little treetops going on the right, I don't think they're helping you too much. But nonetheless, it's a great spot. Thank you for entering it. There's a few things here. Daniel K. I remember looking at this and thinking, this is really quite intriguing. And again, I like what you've spotted. But what I really like is this reflection on the right with the building. I love that. I just think it's adding so much to it. And I like the way you've included this little hint of an overhang, whatever this is going on here. My question is, would it have been possible to go to the left a bit and make more of that reflection? Maybe you're looking out of a hotel window. I don't know. Could you have banged on the room next door and said, can I come and take a picture out your window? Because this is the sort of crazy behaviour that photographers have to do. But I just think if you'd lost some of what's on the left and just had the Meriton building, let's do it. Let's do the hand thing. Just slide it in and just sort of take it off, you know, halfway through the distant skyscraper behind the Meriton building. I think it helps it a lot. And maybe if you could have come to the left and shot it more, bit more of the reflection. But technically spot on, lovely and sharp, great exposure. Yeah, it is a good shot. Let's have a little look a little bit further down, because there are so many great pictures here that I would like to talk about. Carissa Solber, I know where you're going with this, and it's really nice. Now look, you see how that is kind of a little bit of the bottom's cut off when I had it like that. Will it go full screen without? No, it sort of disappears. But look, you see, if you take a little bit off the bottom, when you see we lose that little piece here, I think it becomes a little bit stronger. Be careful with these things, because we don't always need quite so much of the foreground. It is great, and I love the way you've spotted the reflection on those rails. The sun is coming towards us in a really nice fashion. But I think you could have just taken a little bit off the bottom and it would have helped. It would have just taken it that little bit further. Where are we going? Here's one that I liked a lot, Simon Velk. Whoops, I forgot to, I didn't click it. I didn't get it in a new window. Never mind. Look at the subtlety of these colours. These things work really, really well. Subtlety is often a lot stronger than the loud, look at it, sunset, the colours. Sometimes it works, but subtlety works too. And I do like the light coming through here. My coaching to you here would be maybe just a little bit less exposure, because that is so bright. I think you could have come down a bit and still maintained a little bit of that subtlety. The ideal way to approach this, if at all possible, would be to shoot raw, because then you've got that little bit more control. Shooting raw isn't about doing it wrong and then mending it. It's about the fact that the camera can't see the same as our eyes, and therefore it will burn out highlights. It will block out shadows that our eyes wouldn't. You can then put your raw file into a program such as Lightroom and you can just bring it back, make it look a bit more natural. But I do like it. I love the little leaves. I like these little shoots, all of it. I just think it's really nice. It's a very natural feeling thing. Right, I'm going to go back into student again. Apologies for that. Let's go just a little bit further down, and then we're going to look at some of the more advanced category entries. Where was I? I got down to here somewhere, hadn't I? Yes, here we are. We're getting into the right sort of a place. There was a couple here that I know I wanted to have a look at, and just, if I can just find them. This one, Chris. I've just done it again. Chris, I thought this is another example of being very subtle and very gentle with something like a sunrise or a sunset. Now, I'm not sure the splash is helping. Did you throw a stone in there to make the splash? Maybe you did, I don't know, but I don't think that splash is helping your picture at all, because it's a very quiet image. When I first looked at it, I thought, is that a duck with its head under the water, or a swan ferreting around for some weeds? And then I realised it was a splash. Now, throwing the stone in the water can work, but rather than the splash, let the splash drop and then let the ripple spread out on that beautiful calm water. And that could work probably a lot better, because you've got a lovely soft kind of a look to this. I like the grasses in the foreground, that mirror soft water, that the reflection is just working beautifully. I think your splash is spoiling it a little bit. So let's go have a look in the more experienced category. These are you guys who, you know, you've been around it a little bit longer. Thought it was a goose, says Crofting Lassie. That's Morag, isn't it? Yeah, now there's some great shots going on in here, of course. Some beautiful pictures. Where do we go with this? So much to choose from, so much to look at. Now, one of our regulars who enter so many pictures, I have to just talk about this because I like it so much. Crystal Bartholomew. You know, you are a very accomplished photographer, and it's great, and I love the way you look at things and work. So what is it about this that works? Look at how Crystal has thought about the picture. Look where she's shooting from. It's not just a sky with some pretty colours and a sun in it, is it? There's a story going on. There's something happening. There's a young girl dancing around and having a great time and feeling brilliant, and a sunrise. It's not just a load of colours. I love the way you've shot through these little buds, this little plant here, and framed it up. It works very, very well. This is one of the reasons it's well worth you going through entries, you know, because we all learn all the time. We are always learning. We are all students and experienced. We are all in different places on our journeys. And, you know, if you're struggling a little bit, you're thinking you need a bit of inspiration, go and have a look at the pictures you like. And in this next competition, you can go and vote for them as well. You know, this doesn't mean you can't vote on other people's images. You can vote on your own, but you can only vote once. Because you can't just sit there going click, click, click. But go and look at some other images, because it is a great way to get some inspiration, to learn a little bit. There are some great shots here. I thought this was a nice shot. Jane Kilbride, you have been in our PLD group for a long time. Thank you for entering into Posipix as well. Again, the thing that works here, of course, is giving it some interest. It's not just a sky with some pretty colours in it. There's some interest. I like the light reflecting off the water. I presume it's water. I'm thinking we're down by the sea somewhere. I'm not entirely sure. And that's what brings me on. Now, I've seen some of your work before, and some of it is absolutely stunning. Somehow, this looks like it's been very, very heavily cropped. I'm not entirely sure. Maybe it hasn't, but I don't know. There's something going on. I think we need a little bit more detail. But I love the way you've put the shot together. I like the way you've positioned yourself so that that sun lines up behind the kiss. This is the thinking of a photographer, and it is so important to make your shots work. I have to mention this one. I don't know if you're here, Rob, because I think it's a really good shot. I think it's a great shot. Now, as it happens, I was there with Rob when he shot this, because he was on my workshop in Lanzarote fairly recently. Are you here, Rob? But I do like the way, now look, we've got that little chink in the clouds. Rob's waited until the sun is in just the right place to chink through. We've got a bit of lens flare going on, but it kind of helps. But most of all, look at the highlights it's putting on these rocks in the foreground. Instead of them just being black blobby things in the foreground, that little bit of light coming towards the camera is just helping us on our journey, because we kind of hit it and bounce off through the shot. And this was a very, very contrasty scene, so you know, technically it's very well executed. I took a few shots down there myself whilst we were there, and of course they look different. Give a bunch of photographers the same ingredients, they will come up with a whole raft of different pictures. That is one of the great things about photography. What else have we got in here? Now, we've got so many, it's just so hard to look at all these things and choose. We've got a very beautiful, very delicately approached movement shot here from Matthew Butland. And I think this is a great place, Matthew. Really, really interesting shot. You've got some beautiful light going on these rocks. Look how subtle it is. Look at these subtle colours in the sunset. And once again, it's not just going sunset or sunrise. It's a photograph of something using the sunrise or sunset as a backdrop. And that is one of the reasons that it works. Also, look at Rob. Look at Matthew's camera position. He's down low. He's looking across this little pool of water. Look at the rocks that are positioned either side. This isn't by chance. Matthew has positioned the camera in such a way to get that composition. So the rocks are coming in and they're herding you towards, of course, our main feature rock in the middle here. It looks like a boat sort of breaking out, something out of Pirates of the Caribbean, coming up from the deep. But also you've got this little bit of movement going on here. That's a slow shutter speed. It's allowing the movement that's going on this water to create this mistiness. I think it's a really beautifully done shot. If you're not sure how you create movement and mistiness, slow shutter speed. So if there was a breeze and there was some ripples going on that water, by leaving the shutter open for a while, those ripples will create that misty blur. The rocks, well, they're not going anywhere, are they? So it doesn't matter. But obviously you have to keep the camera very, very still. Movement is the superpower of your shutter speed. Shutters don't just do exposure. They have superpowers too. Let's just scroll on down and look at a few more of these really pretty amazing images. You've got to admit, there's some beautiful stuff going on here. I thought this was a beautiful shot by Julia Bevan. This is all about just the right moment, isn't it? Look at the simplicity. One of the things that for me I think really works is this level of simplicity. Look at the shapes in these ripples, these little gentle waves in the water. Think about the way that Julia has waited. She's got that light path coming across from the sun, but waited until it's been interrupted by a little snaky ripple of water. It's leading us into the sun. Yes, there are leading lines, but they're not obvious. This is one of the things. Don't be obvious in your photography. I think it is a beautifully crafted and created picture. Thank you, Julia. Now let's have a little look. What else have we got? There's so many that I would love to talk about and discuss. Let's just, sorry, I've got something going on my other screen. I just need to move those around a little bit. Diane Harper. Let's just see what we got here. Now this is a place that I know well as well. Again, I love your idea, Diane. Look at this going on in the window. Unfortunately, I think this boat is kind of spoiling it for you just a little bit. It's kind of sitting there and it's just kind of like somehow it's shouting and it's drawing attention away from the thing that you have made into a really interesting image. I can't help but wonder, could you have made your focal length a little bit longer and moved yourself either back or forward to find the place that you could lose the harbour and the boat? Let's do the crop test. Let's just see what happens if we just, actually all you got to do is use one hand. Let's just take that off against the wall. Let's lose the water, the boat, the sky and the fence. Let's just take this off against the brickwork. So now we've just got a window and some bricks with a reflection in it. Personally, I think it makes it stronger. What do you think, guys? Do you agree? Put a Y in the chat or an N in the chat. Yes for yes, N for no. But I think just the picture is actually just the window in that brickwork. That is where I think the picture lies. But great idea. Thank you for doing it. Thank you for bringing it in. Thank you for entering. Let's have a look through a little bit further because there are so many. I thought this was a great idea, Diane Harper. Again, we're not even looking at a sunrise, but we know there is a sunrise. How do we know? The clues. There is a little bit of sunrisey colour on the horizon. Look at the colour of the beach huts. It's got that warm orangey early morning or indeed late afternoon glow. The long shadows. Look at these long shadows being cast by these poles. This is all part of it. Don't be too obvious. And one of the reasons I think this works, and it's a really great shot, is because it's not obvious, but we still know that there is a sunrise or a sunset going on. We know what time of day it is. Something which I think would make it stronger is if there was something going on down here, preferably a cyclist. I think that would be great if we had a cyclist coming up here and the no cycling sign. It would just give it a whole new level of humour. But hey, I get it. There probably wasn't a cyclist. Very often if you can put something in here, now a person is always a good choice because we're pre-programmed to look at human shapes and figures. But you know, something unexpected, kids football, a teddy bear, something like that can sometimes work really, really well. If anyone has watched the BBC Top Gear TV programme, if you look at the number of times you see a car go steaming past when they're doing these roadside shots, and in the foreground there'll be something like, I don't know, just a crushed beer can, a bit of litter, maybe just a plant that waves as it moves, just a little bit of incongruous something. It's a difficult thing to get right because it can be easy to overdo it and then it dominates the picture and spoils it. But nonetheless, I think it's a smashing picture, very cleverly done, Diane. Let's scroll on down through some of these pictures because just look at this stuff. There's so much great stuff going on in here. I want to try and find one that I can possibly give you a little bit more coaching. Here we go, Kimmy. Now, what we've got going on here, yeah, you've got a blazing sunrise or sunset going on in the distance. And I get that we've been talking about finding ways to have a photograph of something with the sunset. But in this case, the car is just a little bit too dominant. It might be a cool car, it might be your car, lucky man or woman. But to me, it's just a little bit too dominant. This is screaming car really rather loudly, and because it's shouting car so loudly, it is overpowering the sunset. And you've got some great colours there. To my mind, the sunset, it would still necessarily, I'm not saying it wouldn't work, but maybe it would work better if you gave it more space. Look at that stormy sky that's going on across the top. Maybe used a bit more of that with that streak of sunset. But what we've got here is car going on, big capital letters, and it's overpowering everything else. Give it a go, see what happens next time. I thought, where are we? Where is it? There it is, another great idea. It's another I think smashing image, Diane Harper. Now look how well that has worked. We've seen several people have this idea of using the windows to reflect something. We've got windows with a sunset in them. You know, we look out the window at the sunset and it's great to see that reversed, and I think you've done a really great job here. I don't know, is the shot possibly a little tighter? It's kind of like that porch bit is just interfering slightly. I'm just wondering now if we just took a little bit off the bottom and maybe a little off either side, I think it might just help because it's the repeating patterns in the windows. I think we'd still get it. Great idea. Perfectly exposed, pin sharp, all the technical stuff, obviously bang on. This one kind of confused me, Colin. Again, are we looking at a green flash? What's going on here? Because I love your waves. I really do. I like this little bit of movement. Okay, we got a little bit of this going on in the sky. Where's all the green coming from? It's kind of confusing me. Looks like we've got a bit of intentional camera movement happening at the same time. It's a very creative image. It's quite evocative. It did stop and make me think. But I'm not sure about the green. Where's the green coming from? It's an interesting shot. What about this green? I'm not convinced by that, I'm afraid. Now maybe you've got some fluorescent lighting going on, but why is it affecting the sky? I'm not entirely sure. This one here, I think, is a great shot, Julia. Again, we're sort of telling a little bit of a story. It's just, you know, the two chairs watching the sunset. Are there people in there? What's going on? What's happening here? I just find it kind of intriguing. I'd like to have seen it maybe not quite so contrasty, but that is very much a personal thing, because just because I like things to have a little bit more of a softer feel doesn't necessarily mean it has to. But again, it's a very clever way of doing it. Look where Julie's positioned herself to put the sun absolutely in between the two chairs, the light's coming towards the camera. It's got a nice feeling to it. Let's just scroll down a touch further, because, you know, just look at these. Really, guys, if you haven't been through this gallery and looked at some of these pictures, I really think you should, because there are some beautiful shots going on down here. Now, Kota, I'm not sure what's going on here. I get it. There is a sunset going on. There is a little bit of light there. And, you know, thank you for entering it. You know, you are helping us support the Legacy of War Foundation by entering. But I'm just going to talk as an image. Yeah, it's a phone, isn't it? Look, there's a bit of a sunrise. I'm just going to enter that. Now, if you did that because, you know, you're one of the good guys in the world and you thought, I'm just going to enter this off my phone, just bang it in there, let's support Legacy of War, then I just want to say thank you very, very much. But yeah, as an image, I think we'd all agree it's not quite cutting it, my friend. Now, I just want to scroll down, have a little look at one or two more. You see, there are so many great pictures going on in here. Let's just look at a few more of these and just enjoy them. I think this is a great idea. Yeah, I think people work in pictures. Abdullah, I love your idea. I think it is great fun. You've obviously really thought about this. You've got some beautiful light on those waves, and I quite like the fact you've got someone to leap and throw their arms apart. It makes me smile. Also, you know, look where you've positioned yourself so that they are right over the light. They're right over the sun. In this case, I'm going to say the opposite of some of the things I've said before. I think maybe a little bit more colour could help. Maybe just a slightly darker exposure. Maybe go a little bit more silhouette-y with this one. Because you've got this beautiful bright light on the water and it's just picking up on these waves along the background, I think had you brought that exposure down a bit, you would have had a great silhouette shot and it would have just pumped that colour a little bit more. But a great idea. Absolutely splendid. One more, and then I think we're going to start looking at who our winners and runners-up are. So many splendid, exciting pictures. So many of you entering so many pictures. Thank you so much for doing that. Just look at this amazing work. Mr. Ernest. Now, I think this is very intriguing. I love those clouds. I do think the light on there is absolutely amazing. My question here is, I was just looking to see if that was a tree. I think it could have done with being just a little bit brighter. Just a little tiny bit brighter. But hey, it's still a very moody image. I'm not sure that I'm getting the sunrise feeling coming from it. And finally, I know I keep saying finally, we've got a great image coming in here, Mustafa. Yeah, we've got a really good sort of a sunrise in town or sunset in town. I like the light coming towards the camera. You've got some great reds going on in there. And I kind of like the tree just over the sun. I like the bus coming out the street. I do like a little bit of street life. However, my thoughts would be you could brighten that just a little tiny bit and possibly just sort of tilt the camera up a bit, because I'm not sure we need quite so much of the road. I think you could put the bus a little bit lower in the frame and it would just kind of work better, because what are we doing? We're talking about sunrises and sunsets. So that would be my coaching for you there. Now let me go and change a couple of things around on my other screen so we can start to have a look at the next stage, and that is to have a look at our student runner-up images. Now our runners-up, forgive me, we are looking at a £50 cash prize. Now the first thing that I need to look at in this is a very beautiful photograph by Carolina Bastos. Absolutely stunningly beautiful shot. Now you entered some in previous competitions, and I'm talking directly to you in this case, Carolina, because you don't belong in the student category. Your photography is too good. Now I did do the research. We do this. We do go and check up on people. Carolina is not a professional photographer. I went and Facebook stalked her and everything. Yeah, I got it. I read your stuff. Your parents were photographers. You got into photography at a young age, and you love photography and you love photographing your kids. Forgive me, I have to go and do this stuff to make sure about what's going on. When I first saw this image, I thought, yeah, that gets me. I think that's my winner. But it's too good for the student category. Give yourself some credit. Really give yourself some credit, Carolina, because you're probably better than you think you are. But nonetheless, I have put you in as a runner-up because it is such a beautiful image. But I think you are a much more accomplished photographer than you give yourself credit for. So please keep coming back. But let's see you go into the more experienced category. So the next runner-up, to me, I think this is I was about to swear then, a wonderful picture. I think it's a great shot. I love the sky and the clouds and the way you've got everything laid out and positioned, Peggy. I think it's really beautifully done. I also get, one of the other things I love, look at the horse's tail. It just puts a little bit of life into it. Yes, I know the horse and the shelter are so small in the frame, but does that matter? No. There's so much going on. I like the way you've positioned the actual bright part of the picture, the sun, above that little pony shelter. I like the little line of the fence because look, these things, that the horse and the pony shelter is such small, insignificant things compared to the glory that is all around us. That is an amazing sky, and the whole thing sort of balances out because we got that brighter area to the left with those clouds, and then to the right we got the horse and the shelter. And I again love the way the horse's tail is just flicking out. This is a decisive moment. Decisive moments exist in so many different genres of photography. Technically, I really like the way it's put together. It's not overly colourful. It's just got a nice early, to me, it's an early morning feel. I don't know about you guys. To me, it's an early morning feel. It doesn't feel like the sun's about to set. It's just come up. I think it's a great shot. Congratulations, you are a £50 prize winning runner-up. My next choice here is a totally different sort of an image, and I really, really think it's a great shot by Cosmin Cosoiano. Forgive me if I have pronounced your name incorrectly. Again, it's very, very simple. This says sunset, doesn't it? It could be a sunrise. We don't know. It could be the street light is still on and someone left their bicycle there from the night before. But it is so simple. I like the way the path just leads us to the bicycle. I like the little light on the top of the lamppost and the way that bicycle's just sort of leaning there as the sun is either coming up or going down. It's a very peaceful, very quiet image, and it's still got just that little tiny touch of humanity going on in there. We can just feel that a human being has been there. I think it's a beautiful, peaceful shot. So now let me take us through to the winner of the student category of our sunrise and sunset Posipix competition is Michelle Archer. I really like this. Again, such careful composition. The way you have positioned yourself to line up the building at the end with the brightest part of the sky. I like the lines that are leading us back there. So we've got the bright part, which we notice first. That is supported by those lines of the building, the position of the cross, the sky. It all just sort of comes together and it works in a very peaceful, sort of a harmonious way. And I kept coming back to it. So congratulations. What more can I say? Michelle, you are our winner in the student category. Congratulations. Let's move on and go take a look at our experienced category runners-up, because this was tough. It's always tough, but hey. Now we've got some really strong colours going on here, but nonetheless, Matthew Butland, I just love it. Look at that mist coming off the water. You can feel that chill in the air. I just think it's absolutely beautiful. I like the way there's a little subtle thing going on here. Look at in the top left corner. Look at those little bits of branch. Somehow they just sort of hold the whole thing together. The reflections are beautiful. It is a very colourful image. And I know I've been talking about subtlety. This one is still subtle because of the mist. I think it's a very well composed, obviously technical, spot on. All the exposure's great, the sharpness is great. Well spotted image and very well composed and executed. Congratulations. I think it's a great shot, Matthew. Our next runner-up in our experience category is from Michael Jones. I really like this. It's such a different feeling, isn't it? This one has got such a cold sort of a feeling to it, but beautifully executed, beautifully photographed. I love these lines in the rock going up to the single lone tree. Lone trees are wonderful things when you can find them in the right place. And boy, have you ever found this in the right place. So we've got the opposite going on here now. We've got a very, very cold sort of a sunrise. This is a cold fire sunrise, isn't it? Maybe it's a sunset. I don't know. It says winter, doesn't it? Because there are no leaves on the tree. I think it's a very, very beautifully taken image. We've got all those lines running us back to that lone tree and those very gentle, subtle blues and oranges. Beautiful picture. Congratulations, Michael. I think it's absolutely splendid. Our final runner-up in the experience category. I mean, what more can you say? Philip Chalk. It's just banging, isn't it? It's just banging. You are absolutely in the right place at the right time. How long did you have to wait? Because landscape photography is all about patience. If you're going to do a landscape and do a sunset or a sunrise, it's all about light. And that is all about patience. How long were you there waiting, hoping for a gap in the light? I just think it's absolutely splendid. Again, I'm getting a morning feeling here. I'm getting a sunrise feeling. Technically, I think it is very accomplished because you've also pulled that exposure down. I would guess the camera's light meter wanted to make it brighter. And this is one of the things you also need to remember. You can always argue with your light meter. I get the feeling, I don't know if you're here, Philip, but I get the feeling you brought that exposure down a bit. You have helped to make the sky stronger, make the light stand out. That tree is virtually silhouette, the beautiful light on the gravel in front of it. Always remember, exposure is part of your composition, folks. Don't just do what the camera tells you. Even if you're shooting on manual, don't just do what the camera tells you, because you're the one in charge. How bright or dark you want your picture, how you want it to portray light. That is your choice. Go take a look at my masterclass in photography. There's a link in the description area below. Go have a look at it. Go find it, because it will give you the solution to all these things. It's got some amazing reviews. Beautiful picture, Philip. You don't need my masterclass in photography. And so, finally tonight, or this morning, or this afternoon, wherever you may be in the world, the winner of the experience category, £500 prize winner, is going to be Tracy Winnell, I totally get this. I think it's a beautifully done picture. The fishermen, the lobster pots, wandering down the beach. The work you put into that, the way, again, you have argued with your light meter, you haven't been afraid to make the picture dark, to bring that exposure down and create the silhouette. You've got that beautiful little bit of light creeping across the sand. But the position of the lantern, that to me is just a wonderful little stroke of genius, to put the sun right behind that lantern. How did that happen? I don't know. Is this a stage shot? Did you go down there with someone? Were you just moving, crouching on the beach, moving, following this person, and just lining it up and getting it in the right place? Shooting in burst mode can work. It doesn't matter how you did it. There are so many ways to reach Rome. There are so many ways to achieve a result. To me, it's the one I kept coming back to. And Jim Graves just said, that's bang on. Jim, you took the words right out of my mouth, my friend. So I think that is a stunning picture. I think they are all stunning images. Landscape is one of the most popular genres, and sunset is, of course, one of the most popular things to photograph. It is not an easy thing to do, to make a sunset photograph stand apart from the billions that we are surrounded with all the time. Great work, everybody. I think it's completely amazing. Now, just to recap, please remember there is going to be a slight change in the way the judging is done. Invite your friends to come and vote for your pictures and other people's. Share your pictures on social media. Tell people, come and have a look at these pictures. Come and vote on your favourites, because we need to spread the word about Posipix. If we're ever going to grow this, if we're going to increase the winners pot, if we're going to put more support in there for the Legacy of War Foundation, then we need your help to do it. So please help us do this. Remember, it isn't just a popularity contest, because we will still be going through the images and having a look at them. I will be going through the top 100 and having a skim through. Don't think I won't. Don't think I'm going to ignore something that's amazing just because it's not in there, but there will be less time spent on the other pictures. It has to work financially. It has to pay its way. It has to generate that revenue to give you guys prizes and to put a bit of good back in the world. So I hope that works for all of you. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you for supporting the competition. Thank you for entering some beautiful images, and thank you for making my life doing the judging absolute hell. Be well. Remember, the next competition goes live on Monday, so please keep your eye open for that. Shoot some great pictures, find some great pictures. Remember everything we've talked about. Be well.